reported today in The Verge. iOS 14 is a chance for Apple to lower its walls. I have a love-hate relationship with my iPhone. I love the hardware, Apple's attention to detail in iOS, and the quality of apps that developers have created. But I hate Apple's walled garden that limits how I use my iPhone every day. I can't change my default browser. Every time I click an email address, I'm forced into an inferior iOS email client, and Apple's tight OS restrictions mean customization and app features are limited compared to Android. Rumors suggest Apple is weighing improving some of these restrictions in iOS 14. This upcoming OS update could be the ideal opportunity for Apple to lower its walls a bit, just as regulators in the US and Europe are starting to ask questions about how Apple exerts control over its mobile platform. Bloomberg reported yesterday that Apple is considering allowing apps like Chrome or Gmail to be set as defaults in iOS 14. It's a relatively small change, but one that would have a big impact on app developers who compete with Apple's built-in apps. Windows, Android, and Mac OS all allow third-party apps to be set as default, but iOS has remained an outlier for more than a decade. Over the past 10 years, competitors have created richer email clients that integrate with full-featured calendar apps that can also be viewed in more extensible mobile browsers that sync across a variety of platforms not owned by Apple. Meanwhile, the iOS experience still forces you into Apple's often inferior apps. iOS 14 is an ideal time to relax default app restrictions, just as regulators in Europe and the US are examining Apple's overall mobile platform and influence. The EU has reportedly been preparing to launch an Apple antitrust investigation after Spotify filed a complaint over Apple favoring its own music service with restrictions on rivals. Spotify also complained about Apple's requirements that iPhone users must purchase apps through its official App Store, which then charges developers a 30% commission. Apple's defense of Spotify's complaint highlighted exactly how difficult it is to compete with the iPhone maker on a platform where Apple sets the rules and can change them on a whim. Developers looking to avoid Apple's fees for in-app purchases are forbidden from telling their customers where and how they can pay outside of the App Store. That means apps like Netflix that don't enable in-app purchases for subscriptions are not allowed to link to their website or even tell the user they need to go to netflix.com to sign up. Apple is facing similar complaints about its 30% commission, and the US Supreme Court ruled last year that the company will have to face an App Store monopoly lawsuit. Complaints go beyond just Apple's cut, though. Bluetooth tracking company TAL recently testified in a congressional antitrust hearing that Apple. For more on this story, visit the news article link.